Welcome to the Twomey Stock Market Report. I'm James Twomey, and today's Monday, October 17th, 2022. And this is a video for all our subscribers out there as things are starting to develop and we want to be in position to take advantage or make changes. So we're going to get right to it. And the best way to describe this is how are we going to review this market? Is it improving, staying the same, or getting worse? When I mean improving, the price of stocks are getting better and rising. Okay, so I want to do a real quick. I looked at the sector analysis during the day, and I'll bring it up here right now. And I saw an interesting. Let's see, where is my sector? Screen a plus sector. There we go. I'll make it pretty big here. And I noticed that healthcare, I'm looking right now, the percent change and the 5-day change. Exclude everything to the right of that for now. But it went from all red last Friday to now we've got all green today, the 5-day close. Very interesting. So we had a pretty positive update today. And if you noticed healthcare up here, but what really caught my eye was this real estate. Real estate's it's a variety of things in there. It's equity real estate investment, real estate management. Typically, when I look at real estate, I look at it from a point of real estate investment trust. These are REITs or like office building rents for larger commercial infrastructures, not just homes. And these are a basket of investments by investment property owners, and they have a return on that property that they've bought and now manage. But so I usually look at real estate as a REIT. It also could have something to do with the banks are improving, and a little bit more on that later. But with that said, I said, geez, that catches my eye. We'll go into healthcare a little bit as well. And of course, financials. The banks have been coming out, and we're starting to get fairly positive return on their earnings and information and news, albeit they are forecasting some very strong headwinds. So I wanted, that got me started looking at a couple of things. One, I want to quickly look at that sector. Then I noticed of all the market indices, this is try to give you an idea of how you should look at the stock market before jumping into a stock, right? The Dow or the diamonds was improving the most between that and the NASDAQ and the S&P and the small cap. So, and I also noticed that some of these stocks, this Twomey trend track line was widening. We talked about that in the last segment, kind of like railroad tracks, high and low. When they start to diverge and they either narrow or widen, that tells me there's an inflection in our arc or pricing, and I'll show you that as well. And I want to review some charts specifically more towards what's in the Dow, the top 30, obviously. I'm not going to go over all of them, but a couple that caught my eye. And then also energy. So that's the highlight, and this is what we're going to go. But first, let's take a look at for REITs, I use Schwab's SCHH. And there's a whole host of ones out there. I find Schwab, I use their platform for trading. They have in the day before, now there's no cost to trade, but in the day they had some free ETFs that you could trade. You don't have to pay that $5 trading freight on each in and out, right? But now everybody's free. So I looked at the daily chart. This is the daily chart for the real estate investment trust. And let's face it, it's been down since the beginning of 2022, much like every other indice that we have. And the last time it was at this low, I can't even show you. I'll have to go to the weekly chart to really take a look at that. Here's the weekly chart. The last low was back in 2020, the COVID lows, right? Surprise, surprise. So very analogous to what we saw in the SPY and the NASDAQ in the last video. So let's just do a quick weekly Fibonacci retrace from the COVID lows. And where are we at? It just surpassed the 0.618, and it's starting to come back up to that level. Typically, once it breaks one of these Fibonacci levels, it will it'll race off to the next one at some point in time. So this has caught my eye. On a weekly chart now, I'm saying, okay, it broke the 0.618, and now it's coming back up and it's hitting that as resistance. Will it repel and eventually get down to the 0.76? The bigger the retracement, generally the weaker the particular stock or index or ETF. So in other words, if this only retraced to 0.38 and then we started to see a bounce, that tells me it's a healthier upward, potentially for upward. Since this broke 0.5 and 0.618, that's telling me, it's got a lot of negative selling pressure. And if you look down here in the red volumes, the weekly chart, high volume selling. So people who are in this have gotten out of it, and now if they've held to this point, they've given up, and everybody's selling. So why am I interested in looking at? Well, the sector table said real estate is moving up. That could be just the fact that the banks are showing some positive earnings. It could be the fact that the lending for homeowners are not looking as shaky like they did in the financial crisis. And then one of the reasons for that is most of the folks holding mortgages out there are holding fixed rates at very low rates, whereas financial crisis, it was the complete opposite. A lot of people were in these adjustable rate mortgages. As everything fluctuated, they got crushed because they couldn't afford it, and it's a cascading effect. All right, enough on that. But so now I'm looking at this in earnest. Do I want to invest in this? So I look at the daily, and here's my Twomey trend track line. I'm going to move it out of the way a little bit here, but it's been downward. Is there any inflection change? Really not, right? Except we do see 3 days of advancement. Well, the last time we had 4 days of advancement, it just continued to go down, and it broke, it hit the upper line, and then it continued down again. And this one came back up, and pretty much we're at the Twomey trend track line. The stocks don't know that. It's just something that happened, that we happen to be following. Now, with that, I want to look at, I'm going to move this one more time again. Here, right? I'm looking at we talked about this yesterday, the validity of my move, my short-term oscillator, the stochastics. These things move very rapidly. I look for the green line to break above the red. I look for anything above 50 to 75, and I'm really interested in this is potentially having some legs on an upward trend. Okay, what is the stochastic reading? We've got a 46 in the green side, 25 in the red. Not above 50. It is an upward move. My antenna's up. I'm going to look potentially that there may be some changes. The MACD, again, I'm going to have to fix these, folks, and I apologize for that. The red and the green, right? Well, here's the zero line. We're nowhere near the zero. The green is still below the red. Unfortunately, it's hidden by all these volume bars, and I'm going to have to make another, figure this all out at another time. With that said, it's not, it's flattening out. It's still at 0.82 and 0.86. It's pretty much near zero, right? So I'm not seeing that take off, but I'm seeing the stochastics take off, and I'm seeing the daily chart take off. The daily chart, it's up, and this is going to be very similar to some of the indices I'm going to show you, but the daily chart got up above the 9 EMA. The 9 EMA is 18.21, and it closed at 18.33. It didn't quite get to the 14 EMA. And if you look over here, the last time we had a 4-day upturn, it got up to the 14 EMA and got repelled down. So am I sold to buy this? No. I almost actually did send out an alert, and here's the why. Sometimes I look for, if I sense a trend is changing in the market, and 4 or 5 days is not something that is say, oh, the market's changed, we're all going to buy. But I'm sensing that we may have a temporary trading window here on the positive side. Very interesting, because real estate investment trust has been shattered, and for this to bounce off the bottom, it'd be It'd be very interesting. So I looked at the 120-minute chart. The 120-minute just breaks up the daily chart into five segments that make up 120 minutes throughout the day. So each bar, it represents 120-minute trading. Why do I look at this? I look at this because I'm looking for something that's showing a little bit more of a shorter picture on my trend up. See if it goes up and then it gets to a new high, which it did here. What happens? It repelled and selling came in place, but it didn't quite get back to the last low, and we got some more buying, and it actually went higher above the last high, not by much, and now we've got some sideways action. I look at my stochastics. Remember we talked about the other one. This is my fast oscillator. It's my first alert. What do we got? The green is above the red. The green is 92. It's above our 75, and it's above our 85. I'm interested. The red, it's also up there in some good numbers. So now what we're saying is the red and the green are now more in positive territory. I look up at the MACD. The green is almost near par or zero, and it's at minus 0.02. Very interesting. The green's above the red. Upward slope. I'm starting to get some more interest. I look up here on the 120-minute and I see my 9 is crossed above my 14 EMA. That tells me, whoa, I may have that is a buy signal for me, but on the 120-minute chart. And I call these, I don't know if you can see this, mouse hunts. Why do I call them mouse hunts? Because it gives me a buy signal on a shorter time frame chart. I have not gotten the buy signal on the daily chart, but I now have it on the shorter segment chart. Okay, I call it a mouse hunt because often we go in for big game, but we get disappointed. We end up with instead of the big mountain lion on the wall, we come out with a mouse, and that's certainly not big game. So I call it a mouse hunt. So it's a risk trade. So I was ready to send out the alert, and I said, I want to wait. I'm not convinced. I don't have a bias in this because I've been out of this for a long time, and I look at it periodically, and it really caught me by surprise, right? And why would that all of a sudden take off? So it really caught my eye. That the daily, I would wait for a sell signal there. We don't have it, but I want to get into my trend line here. Look at this. I know it's a narrow trend line. I know the stock market doesn't know I have a trend line here, but it's starting to go beyond it. So if I wanted to draw a new trend line, you want to try to look for 3 areas that it would hit. And I really can't do that, right? I'm going to change the color on this to blue or purple, let's say. And here, I really can't get 3. I can get 2, but I really can't get 3. Whereas here I got 3. So it's not official, right? But notice how I've talked about this before, this arc is widening. If that arc is widening, price is moving upward, and versus staying in my trend. And that tells me that there's upward pressure. If I look at the 120-minute, going back to that, has anything changed there? Well, it broke through the trend line. And if we draw a new segment line, yeah, we could pretty much get 3 lines, 4 lines, tops of the bars there. Let's make that purple. And lo and behold, it's again, smaller time segment, but is this a predictor? Yeah, it's a predictor of where the daily may go. See how this gap is widening from the red lower track line to here? That's a bigger widening gap. The only way, think about it mathematically, it's, if it's a circle, right, like any arc, the only way for this to get wider is this price has to get higher. Makes sense, right? So that has my attention. So, I do have a buy-in, and my buy is in actually at this 8.3, I believe. believe, or 8.25, and I may change that. But the 90 EMA here is 18.14, so probably looking at, I think it's about 18.2. I forget what it is now off the top of my head, but I do have one in there. I look at the 90 EMA here, and I'm looking at a 18.21. So my first buy for a risk trade would be 18.2, and I would put a stop down here, okay, 17 and a half. So, there's a little bit of risk trade there. I may send out the alert tomorrow. I'm not recommending taking this just yet. We need a little bit more show me here what's going on. All right, so I want I want my subscribers to understand a little bit of the theory here on how we start looking and seeing the market, a little of the inside information, because it's important. We're not just throwing trades at you. We're really taking a scientific, and it's all based on fundamentals first, and then we look at the technicals that they justify where our fundamentals is. All right, so then I looked at what's going on in the market. Great, obviously up. The Dow was up tremendous, again, closed up five or 600 points. Look at very similar graph. I know this is a busy graph, but here, let's start right at the bottom. Stochastics. Green well above the red. The green is coming in at 86. This is the daily chart now. That has my antenna up that this is into positive territory. Anything over 50 to 75 is really telling me we've got an upward pressure on the market. Price is improving. I look at the MACD. The MACD is coming in at minus 3.9 on the green, and the red is minus 5. So the fast and slow, the green is crossed above the red. I know you can't see that here, but with that said, we're not at zero. I probably would like to see that above zero to make me feel more comfortable. Now I go up to my daily chart. I'll make this as big as I can. See here, the 9 EMA is right below the 14 EMA. We have not crossed, but it is getting close, and therefore our short position is probably getting close to being, a sell signal. But if I look at this, I see that this Twomey trend narrow. Remember, I keep talking about narrow trend lines. Typically, you don't have a narrow trend line, but here it is. It's very narrow. Now, we could probably make that a little bit bigger, maybe more upward there. But even if we go upward, the gap is widening, right? Just like on our other chart. But that was the 120-minute chart. So let's draw another segment line here, connecting at least top 3 bars, 1, 2, and we go over here, and here's our third. And we're going to change the color on that so you can see it, and dotted line, and we'll make it purple. There you go. Widening gap. And if you think of this, the arc of an arch, for this price to improve, this arc has to move upward, right? So, interesting. We're getting some positive divergence. What do I mean by divergence? The others, we haven't seen the others come this far ahead in pricing, even though they did improve. But the Dow, the banks, JP Morgan, all those, they're all in a lot of these banks are investment houses, if you will. I call them banks, but they're, Wells Fargo, all these things, they're in the Dow, right? And as a matter of fact, let's go to the Dow 30 here. We've got American Express. We got Bank of America. No, that's Boeing. Excuse me. Goldman Sachs. JP Morgan. And for Visa. So we've got certainly some positive data coming out of the banks, and it's helping improve the Dow. Now let's go back to our chart. So here, I'm getting close to a buy signal. We're not quite there yet, but I'm very interested in that. It's above the 9, it's above the 14 EMA, and I'm about ready to sell. Tomorrow I'll probably send out an alert to tighten our stops on a portion of our dog, or the inverse of this is a short position in the Dow. All right. Now, the 120-minute mark. What are we seeing here? Again, if we were going to take a risk trade, we've already crossed above. The stochastics are way up here, 87, but they are flattening out. The MACD positive is 1.6. Very interesting. So that's telling us, and what's happened here? Low, we got some highs. It retreated, but it didn't come back to these lows. It kind of went up, meandered. Then it did test that low again. So that says, kind of a false upward move, right? Now we get another rise and it beats the last high or comes near it. I don't know if it quite beat it. It's about the same and it's come back down, but it has not eclipsed down to the lows. So it's improving. It looks good. It's worth a risk, but I'm going to wait until I get a stronger indication, right? Stronger indication. So the Dow is telling me I've got some interest. Some of the things in the Dow that caught my eye, and we're going to look at these charts real quick. McDonald's, because now that we've looked at this sector is doing well. There's only 30 stocks in it. We could I know we don't have the time to look at them, but we want to pick a few. And I'm thinking, hey, McDonald's will do well in any recession, and I'm surprised they haven't so far price-wise, because people aren't going to spend on high-ticket dinners, but they'll still want to grab lunch or whatever, But they save money somehow, and they'll go to fast food versus maybe something that's more expensive sandwich shop, right? Anyways, I look at McDonald's. We've got MACD. Stochastics way up over 84. MACD is not above 0, but it is green above red. And then we've got the 9 just about eclipsing the 14 EMA. We certainly have price performance up there. It crossed it got up, touched above the 50 EMA. This is the fuchsia color. And then it got repelled at the 200 EMA. And now we're kind of in limbo here. Is this going to come back down to the 14 or 15 EMA? And it's going to stay between the 50 and the 200 and this 14 EMA or 9 EMA. It may, but we certainly are interested. This is a potential opportunity. All right, we talked about banks, JP Morgan. I put it in yellow. We're getting close to a buy signal as well. Look at this, 92% for the green above the red fast oscillator. The MACD still laying, down at the lows, minus 1.18 for the green, but very promising. Price shot way up, and it's above the 50. I've got a lot of interest in this. The problem is you say to yourself, hey, how come I didn't buy down here? That's where you say, because look at this one day. And that's what happens when you have a volatile market where there's a lot of volume, and you have a big up day, and then the next day, look at all the selling. More, almost a quarter more or a third more selling, this red bar. This is volume versus the up day. That tells me people who are languishing in this stock, once it had that up day, they unraveled some of their positions and said, hey, I got to get out here. It's an up day. It's good for me to get out. So, either way, this is another one we want to keep an eye on. I won't go to the 120-minute chart, but that would be telling you some other information. Honeywell, another big industrial that could give us some same story there. Getting near a sell signal, but this is below the 50. See how wide? I'm going to go back to JP Morgan. See how JP Morgan I'm a little bit more interested in it because we're above that 50. 50 is a very important trading number. What else do we have here? UNH. We mentioned healthcare. UNH is probably one of the better health care provider type insurance companies. Not quite a buy signal. We've been in and out of this. It always disappoints. It has been a tough one, but it's above the 50. MACD, stochastics up. The MACD is still negative territory. So we got our eye on this one as well. See, now if the Dow is performing better and we've got multiple ones in the Dow that we're looking at, that's, we got to keep our eye that we may. That's why I say we may have a couple of buy signals coming up. I just want to look at Home Depot real quick. Home Depot, kind of sideways. Faltering a little bit here at these levels. So not 100% in camp with the others that we saw. What is Amex? AMX, I think. American Express. AX, right? AXP. American Express. Let's look at what's happening there. Improving stochastics, MACD, green above the red, but still negative. Price is kind of floundering here. Not just got above the 14 EMA. Some positivity there, but it's not as strong as a couple of the others that we showed you. All right, what else we have? Energy. I wanted to quickly go over energy. There's a couple I'm tracking in energy. I mentioned USO. We have not sent a sell signal. We looked at that in the last couple of sessions. Again, the black is above. We had a buy signal. I didn't issue it, and we've been kind of going sideways here. It's hanging in. The MACD is above 0, but it is starting to turn back down. The stochastics turn down. And sure enough, today the green's below 50. So this may not. We're going to keep our eye on it. We're not, and it's very volatile. So it's not one that it's not easy to trade because it does fluctuate quite a bit. I looked at Devon Energy. It's got like a 6% dividend. It's a little bit lower than that. And that I've been watching it. We had a buy signal. Didn't issue a buy signal for that. Stochastics here are up in the above 75. MACD is above 0. Green is above the red. We've got price, hugging the 9 and 14 EMA. It's still in a buy signal mode. It's between the Twomey trend, wide trend track line. It's starting to go sideways. I got my eye on this. Exxon Mobil is another one, which is probably the best in this sector as far as performance. And that one, you can see MACD this is what I'm talking about. 2, the stochastics up in 85 for the green lines, and then up here the price, we did have a buy signal. We didn't issue the signal on this. Energy is kind of tricky, but hindsight is that it may be coming down and flattening here, so we've got an eye on this one. If it gets in around the between the 14 and 9 EMA, then still all these technicals look good. Maybe issuing a buy signal on that one as well. Did we have others? If you want to, we'll take one of our positions, XLE, that we are holding is the ETF. It's a basket of energy and energy utility and energy services and sector, as well as delivery and exploration. But what do we get going here? The prices, just like all the other charts, we've got stochastics in the upper 80s. We've got lower 80s. We've got the MACD in positive territory. We've got we've had our buy signal. We're hanging in there. It's hugging the 9 EMA. This may be a situation, if things improve, we may be adding to this. Again, energy is very volatile, so we have to be careful. So that gives us a couple of things that I'm looking at. We may be issuing a sell signal on SCHH, the REIT. Maybe one of these energies. We're also looking at the diamonds, and we also may be making some changes in our short positions, DOG. DOG is not giving us a sell signal, but we're well below the 9 and 14. We are at the point where we're holding that last position, the last third until we get the sell signal. We're still, we've got quite a bit of run here from the buy signal. We have the luxury of retaining some good hefty profits here, and we want to be prepared to make sure that the market has convinced us. But here's another example: the blue line here on the trend track line. I changed the red to blue because it's widening, right? That's telling us the opposite of what we're seeing before. If this comes down, which it did today, as this comes down, just think of a clock, right? At a half a circle, that means in order for this to, continue on that slope, the prices have to come down. In order for this to go back up into its original trend track line, prices have to start rising. So we're on watch. That gives you a little bit. Don't get nervous. If the market does take off and we get the buy signal, it gives us plenty of time to get in. We go in long and hard on those buy signals. It should be a bear market rally. We've got midterms coming up. We've got earnings coming out. The end of the month, we may see a few weeks that we could get some run rate here and some positivity. If it is, we'll take advantage of it and we'll be in it. But in the meantime, hold the course, and if any alerts, they'll come right to you on your email desk. I'm James Twomey. This is the Twomey Stock Market Report, and today is Monday the 17th. And don't forget, go to the TwomeyStocks.com, the number 2 MEstocks.com. Sign up for those, you've signed up for the receive trade alerts. You're getting the alerts. You're getting all the videos. I'll also, when I send out this video alert, I'll put in the documentation that shows you how to locate that video. It's a little kludgy, and we're going to improve the website as we get going here, but we want to get this functional video out to you. A lot of times the email is too big to email, right? So we'll put it in the website, and we'll also give you instructions how to view it. Have a great day. We'll probably be in touch with you tomorrow with some alerts. If not, stay the course. I'm James Twomey.